Welcome back to Worth the Effort Woodworking. It is January 1st, 2019 already. And we've been off of YouTube for a few months now, but we are coming back strong in 2019. So I thought this is a perfect opportunity to, maybe do a shop tour. I haven't done one of those in a while. And we'll talk about our New Year's resolutions for the channel and what we're doing here. So come along, and I'll show you around the shop. So for those of y'all that haven't seen a past shop tour, I think I've done one in the shop before. I moved into this little over 800 square foot warehouse a couple years ago, and I was the first tenant in this warehouse. Pardon the lighting, because the lights on this side the banisters have gone out and the landlord hasn't fixed them yet. But it was a new warehouse when I moved into it, and in this back corner they had just this giant restroom, because with new construction, you have to make everything so that wheelchairs can get around and stuff like that. And they also wanted the door to open up towards the back, so whenever somebody was in the restroom, they open up the door, you just didn't see in there. So there's this hallway back there. So a good, I want to say 6 of this warehouse was spent on just the restroom. Now, I extended that out where these 2 plywood tool racks are and squared it all off, so that I could put in a little office, a little kitchenette for lunches and stuff like that, and a place that I can escape the heat and the cold in winter and summertime, because this is an unair conditioned shop. And back here, which I'll show you in a second, I have some storage for the stuff I've collected over the past half century that I just don't want to get rid of, personal stuff. So in reality, out of this 800 square foot warehouse, I have about 450 square feet that I can use for woodworking. A big advantage, and one of the reasons why I chose this particular place, was I do have 12 to 14 foot ceilings, because it kind of ramps up because of the ceiling pitch. Now, when you are in a small shop like this, it is advantageous to have pretty much everything mobile. The only things that are fairly consistent in my shop is my workbench and the lathe. I will sometimes rotate back and forth. I know that I'm doing a bunch of batch production turning projects in the next few weeks, so I've got this set up right now for turning. Now, what I mean by that is I turn my lathe sideways, because normally when you see me filming, I have it with this as the background, so my lathe is here, and it just takes a little muscle to move it around. But if I can turn it sideways, that gives me a lot of space here and a lot of space there to throw chips. So it's a lot easier to clean up. So when I'm in production mode, this is kind of where I'm at. I will push my bench up back against the wall. I've got all my power tools spread out. You can see they kind of stack up in the background, and it gives me a nice open space to just make a mess. Now, speaking of batch production, most of y'all that have been following me for a while understand that most of my income comes from working various art markets and farmers markets in the area. In fact, I've worked over 100 in some of these past years. I mean, it's just every single weekend, something during the weekdays, then Saturdays and Sundays, then mass push during the holiday seasons. Well, for 2019, one of my resolutions is to not work those kinds of markets anymore. I have one monthly market that I really want to stay continuously working at. That's San Marcos Art Squared in San Marcos, Texas, just because that's kind of the town that I want to eventually settle in, and I helped start that market 6 or 7 years ago, I forget. So I just wanted to keep supporting it. It's not a market I make a lot of money at. Other than that, there's a monster market in April, and at the end of the year, there's a 13-week market in downtown Austin. And I'd like to find one other monster market, maybe in summertime. So if I worked those San Marcos markets, which are eight months out of the year, they take winter off, and then 3 other markets, that's less than a dozen markets a year. And I hope to kind of bring up the quality of my work, because when I was working a lot of markets, I hate to admit, a lot of times I was just batching stuff out as fast as I possibly could, just to build up inventory. Now, I'm going to be able to do that for only one reason, And in 2019, one of my biggest resolutions is I'm going to start creating a lot more content, but in the text world, in the print world. For example, I have a couple articles coming up in Popular Woodworking magazine on turning. I've already submitted them, the artwork, they paid me for them. I'm not sure what month they'll come out with, but that's kind of the area I'm going to. And I'm approaching other magazines to do the same thing. So whenever I batch out a bunch of products for one of the big shows and up my quality, maybe I can turn that process into an article for magazines. And frankly, they pay better than YouTube does. But it doesn't mean I won't make content for YouTube out of that same little thing. I'm double dipping, in other words. And the idea with that is hopefully I can cover all my expenses making content for the print world and YouTube, Patreon, and YouTube has a new join function, and get a little bit of income all over the place. And then in those big, huge markets, I can set aside all that sales income into my bank account, and maybe in a couple years I can buy an acre or maybe a half acre in Stan Market and put up a nice steel building, one of those barn dominiums, kind of a live workspace, so I can have a real shop, a real home, and own it instead of just renting. And that's the goal. Maybe in a couple years, if I stay after it, live frugally, that'll be the way we can go. So, resolution number 1, you're going to be seeing a lot more content from me on both the YouTube, but more importantly, in the print world. So follow along. And I just relaunched my blog on my website to get me some writing practice. You'll see a couple articles a week there in 2019. So, right now we are at my main hand tool area, probably what you see in most videos. And when I'm turning my workbench, I just push up against that wall to get a lot more room. Now, behind my bench, I have my display wall, as a lot of commenters call it. But in actuality, even if I wasn't shooting videos and using this as a backdrop, this is how I would be storing my tools. I just prefer it over a tool chest or putting stuff into drawers. Because if I'm working here, I just reach around, I grab a tool, I use it, I put it right back. It's not cluttering up my workbench. I know where everything is. I feel more at ease in this organization method. And people might look at this and say, hey, you've got a lot of tools. But understand, I've been collecting these for over 20 years, and this is all I got. Okay? I don't have them in cubbies everywhere. If I buy a tool that I'm going to use, it's on the wall somewhere. If I'm not going to use it, I'm going to Craigslist it or eBay it, because it's capital. You don't want to waste capital just sitting on your wall somewhere. And what I got is I do have a full set of chisels right here, all the sizes. Don't really use those too much. The number 1 chisel is my 1/2 incher right there. I've said that many, many times. I also have 3 working bench plates. I have a low angle jack that stays right above my files. I have a block plane, which I really do use as a smoother a lot. And then I have my smoother. And with those, I can accomplish most tasks. I'm not building big beds or big giant cabinets. I build small wall cabinets, boxes, stuff that I can crate up and take to art markets. Those are perfectly sized for that. Over here I have specialty planes, scrapers, that kind of stuff. Stuff I will be using quite a bit. And some little knickknacks, spoke shaves, my back saws, my drills. I do keep 3 planes right here, and they are mainly for demonstration purposes. I don't really use them that much. And then I have my layout tools, my knickknacks, my markings, my layouts, my sharpening setup, pens, pencils, that kind of stuff. Scrapers, drill bits, my drills, all that kind of stuff. But this is what you see behind most of my videos, and it's stuff I actually do use. Which comes back to my second kind of major resolution this year. Last year, at the beginning of the year, I didn't tell anybody, but I launched a whole new program on my YouTube channel, these daily tips videos, and I produced daily tips for almost 3 months straight. And then I started backing off of it because the analytics was just they were destroying my channel. Subscriptions, views, all that kind of stuff. And I kind of tapered off and did 1 or 2 for the rest of the summer. And then come fall and winter, I just stopped doing them all together. I have about 80 of them out there right now. I'm going to go back to doing them. I'm not going to call them a daily tips though. I'm just going to call it a woodworking tips and tricks. And they'll be coming out at the beginning of each week, and I'm only going to do one a week. So you can expect 4.2 of those every month. And what's going to be in those? Well, as I said, this is pretty much all my hand tool woodworking. This does the majority of the work. And I do find that a lot of people are buying tools to accomplish certain tasks that they might not realize they can accomplish with the tools they already have. And that's going to be what we focus on in those tips and tricks videos. Showing you different things that you can do with what you've already got. Now, to one side of my tool wall, I do have my photo booth area. It's basically just a window shade that I can bring down, bring over. I have lights set up. I shouldn't have done that. I have lights set up so I can light my work, and I take pictures for my website where I sell some of my woodworking the higher price stuff that I take to art markets. A lot of times I'll put on my website just in case somebody wants to support us by buying some of the stuff we make. Now, some people are curious of what kind of equipment I use to do these videos. And right now I'm working off of a D70 DLSR from Nikon. It's about 3 or 4 year old camera. It shoots at 1080p, and that's all I'm ever going to use. I like it because I've been a lifelong Nikon user. I have all my old grandfather's Nikon lenses, which even before autofocus, they will work with this camera, and it produces good enough quality for YouTube. Now, this year I did splurge a little bit towards the end of the year, and when the new iPhones came out, I picked me up one of the XRs. And I do expect that quite a bit of my tips videos and stuff like that is going to be filmed on this. I've got a little shotgun mic for it right here. By the way, I use a shotgun mic on top of my Nikon, which is why there's a little bit of echo, but it's just a lot better than what comes from the factory. And why I chose this camera is it's the first time in the iPhone lineup where the FaceTime camera will shoot at 1080p. It's not as good as the camera over here, which I can use for small close-ups and stuff like that, but when I'm talking to the camera, I can turn it around, film myself, and I will still be at that 1080p, which I think is kind of cool. And the shotgun mic, it is surprising how good the quality of audio comes out of just this little, I think it's a $40 contraption from Rhodes. And that's my main capturing tools. For software wise, I use Adobe Creative Suite. It's a CS5. It's like 10, 12 years old. I got it when I was still teaching at high school, and I run it off of a little $400 inexpensive HP computer. It's kind of cool. The older software, it doesn't need a lot of horsepower that the newer software does, so you can get away with less expensive computers. Downside is it does take quite a while to render. So let's move on over here. Over here I have some more daily use tools. I have some more back saws and hand saws and panel saws. I do have some Japanese saws, but over the years I've kind of gotten away from them, but they're nice to have just in case. And then just some more construction tools, that kind of stuff. I do have my Woodwright DVD collection because occasionally I do like to watch a DVD out here. And I just moved my TV from this spot and put up my glue rack just to hold stuff over there. So come along this way. Now, looking out from the opposite corner of where we came in over by the refrigerator right there. On this area, I just moved my bandsaw over here, and it is on wheels, and it occasionally moves around the shop depending upon what project I'm working on. With turning, I kind of like it right there. It's just out of the way, but it's close enough for me to come over and knock off a little tenon or something like that. I also have my contractor table saw and chop saw, and notice they are nested together, and those move all the time. A lot of times I just take them out into my shop annex, the parking lot, and make a mess out there. It's noisy and stuff like that, and I prefer the room out there. Over in this corner over here, you will see a refrigerator, and that is my kiln for my turning drying blanks. A lot of these things right here, I'll go out, I'll turn them around, I'll put them in the kiln for 3 to 4 months, and then they're ready to rock and roll. Or if I've rough turned a bowl and I need to get it to market in a month or two, I'll dry that rough turned bowl. Otherwise, they all go up into my massive lumber drying rack. which once again I apologize about the lighting for. The balusters are just out. But it goes all the way up to the 12-foot to 14-foot ceiling right there. And I've got heavy duty shelves there. And when I go out and I harvest a tree, I cut up all my blanks. You'll see that third shelf down, it has a lot of stuff labeled 416. So that's 2 years old. I'll probably be using that stuff in another year. The lower racks are stuff that I'm going to be start using in the next month or two as I build up my inventory of turned boxes over the next few months. And then I have some power tools like I have a scroll saw and my portable router table over there. Underneath that one is all my roll around power tools. And those include a small rigid jointer. For what I do, I don't need the very long ones or an 8-inch ones. I'm just doing small boxes. I have my dust collector. The only new tool I purchased in I think the past 2 years has been this drum sander. And for all the work I've been doing on the CNC machine, it has been a real time saver. And one of the things I hope to get into in the upcoming year is a lot of steam bending for like shaker boxes and cabinets and stuff like that. And being able to sand down those blanks before steaming them, make them really consistent, is going to be a godsend. So I'm really going to be putting this to a lot of use in the upcoming months. Over here I have my drill press and a mortiser. Don't use a mortiser very often, but when you do need to use it, it is a lifesaver. It really accomplishes the work quickly. And then I have a CNC machine. I don't expect that I'm going to be doing a lot of complete projects with the CNC in the upcoming years, but I am going to be using it in a lot of my projects. For example, when you make anniversary platters or plates to give as wedding gifts, a lot of times they like to leather carve all the way around. The CNC is perfect for that one. I put the blank there, I will do the shape of the plate or bowl, I'll do all the carving on it, and then I can take that to the lathe and carve and shape it all out on the lathe, leaving just the letter carving. And that's the kind of stuff I plan on using the CNC for. Basically to speed up some of this processes that just takes me too long because I lack a little bit of skill in that kind of stuff. And after that is the latest big project for my shop. I did a full dust collector, so I have a lot more than just my shop vac. And I put a little cyclone on it, and it's got canister on it. A lot of people have watched that video, and let me tell you, it is still working great. And it is quite enough now that I can leave it running pretty much all day, and it just kind of cleans the air and everything. I've really liked it, and I'm not sniffling as much, today being the exception, because of that machine. Really a good decision on my part. And now I have the camera set where my dust collector is, so you can see the rest of the shape and how much room we have. It looks a lot bigger than it actually is on camera, but I can tell you, size-wise, I could see, I own a regular cab, long bed, full-size truck. I could picture myself parking that thing in here, and it would go almost wall to wall, except I would be able to lower the bed and open the doors. That's about as much room as we have in there. So, while you're at that position, I can show you, I just relocated my grinders over here. I kind of like it right here. It might be staying here a little while. And then I have my entertainment section. Now, a lot of people will say you shouldn't have a TV or radio out in the shop. It's distracting. But being a production woodworker, I would tell you, I get more done. It isn't that I'm paying attention to it, but it's just kind of nice having some white noise, some people talking. Every now and then you'll grab something that'll grab your attention. You can take a quick break, just look over it, watch it for a minute, and then go back to work. Now to do that one, I've never had cable at any place I've done. I've been the original cord cutter because I just never had the cord right now. And I just recently got a new iPhone, and I'll explain why in a second. So my old iPhone, I leave right here on a little clamp, and I can turn on, whatever, YouTube. I'm really a big fan of those like 6-hour-long blocks of like jazz or guitar or something like that, because I just start those and just listen to it all day long. And I also listen to podcasts and stuff like that. I got I think it's a 19-inch TV right there, a Bluetooth speaker, and then because the electricity is already here, that's where I do all my charging and stuff like that. So if you're going to be out in the shop, I do suggest a little bit of entertainment. If nothing else, it will actually keep you in the shop longer so you do more work. And speaking of work, it comes down to our last bit of resolutions. What type of content am I going to be making for YouTube other than those little tips videos? I'm going to put a concerted effort into finishing the next 4 chapters in that hand tool textbook that I've started at, the classroom series out there. And it might take me the rest of the year just to do those 4 chapters, but I do have outlined a 12-chapter book, and those videos are going to be complements to that book. That book's just going to take me quite a few years to do. The other thing is, I'm going to focus on those art market projects I mentioned earlier. Little small batch production woodworking where I can teach you a lot of techniques to doing stuff and also give you variations. For example, those ring boxes I showed you earlier. I've already made 60 of those in producing content for Popular Woodworking. I'm also going to produce a video on it, and the content shouldn't overlap that much between those 2 mediums. But all 60 of those are completely different. It was a design exercise showing you how you can use 3 or 4 techniques in the actual building of something, but vary so many other things that they're all unique. And that's how I'm going to approach box making, cabinet making, a lot of other stuff that I'm going to be producing for my art market shows that can also turn into content for y'all. And I really do think that a lot of people out there, when they get into woodworking, it isn't so much that they're wanting to make one chair or something like that. They're wanting to make a set, or they're going to want to make a series that they can give as gifts at the holiday season. That kind of stuff. And trust me, it's not going to be all how to turn pins. That's just not me. It's going to be unique stuff that I don't see out on YouTube already. And they should all build to a book I plan on publishing somewhat towards the end of the year on working art markets, the sales techniques, setting up, marketing, dealing with the owners of those kind of stuff, all the behind the scenes of art markets, plus maybe a dozen projects that you might want to sell in an art market yourself. Once again, it's a subject matter I haven't seen anybody else tackle out there. So, come along for 2019. I hope you enjoyed my shop tour. It's not as big as most people think, but I've got a lot of stuff crammed into it because it's all modular. It changes per task. And because I'm not doing 100 different things in a day, I'm doing small production runs, I can spend 5 minutes, move stuff around, get it all nice and set up, and then work for the day. It's kind of nice that way. I can't really, it would be nice to have a bigger shop, but I don't really see a need for it for the kind of woodworking I'm doing right now. It's really kind of the stuff that I think most people do. So, hope you enjoyed this tour, and I'll see you next week with more tips and probably a new project. Y'all be safe, have fun, and remember that it is always worth the effort to learn, create a bunch of junk, and share it with others. Y'all be safe and have fun.